Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. Yo soy el alquimista del sonido aquí con
Gersh1.
and today we're back to answer your questions in another For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get those questions first. And if you enjoy our content and you want to support the channel because we speak español, nos puedes dar un super thanks. Con ese super thanks puedes preguntar lo que tú quieras y nosotros lo vamos a responder en el próximo episodio.
Basically what he said, if you guys want to support the channel, super thanks is the way to do it. It's a direct support and we'll answer your question guaranteed in the next one.
Yeah. And that is what Griffin H has done. His question is, do you think Chaos will eventually win in Warhammer 40K universe? That's a good question, and the answer is no.
Yeah. The way 40K works, as grim, dark, and hopeless as it seems, there's always a way for the Imperium to come out on top. And Chaos is always going to be bottom. No switches here.
Nope, no switches at all. Chaos forever will be destroyed by Chaos. That's why Phaladon exists.
Yeah. 13 Black Crusades, and nothing gets done.
Yes.
But a little bit gets done.
Well, I think that's like the GW's way of being like goofy and saying like, no, he was making small little wins that eventually led up to the Cicatrix Maledictum, which, I mean, I guess if you look at it, that's pretty big. An entire warp rift across the galaxy. But is GW doing anything with it? Kind of, but not really.
It's always just enough to push the scales in Chaos's favor for a little bit, and then the Imperium comes back. And that always happens when Chaos did like the whole storyline with the Cicatrix Maledictum. Yeah, you thought, oh no, the Imperium is screwed. What's gonna happen? Boom, Gilliman comes up. Boom, new Space Marines. The next time we see Chaos do a huge push, there's gonna be another type of scenario of that matter, where another Primarch comes back, or some new Marines come out, or something like that, or the Emperor, comes back. It'll always be that type of scenario where Chaos seems to be winning and it seems to be hopeless, but then they come back and win last minute.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but then at the same time, if you're not a Chaos player, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good question, though, and it's a question that like I think we're going to get again later on, but yeah, it is what it is. Next one.
This one is by Shadow Gone Wrong Smith. What if the Emperor got corrupted by Chaos? What effect would it have in the 40K universe? And also, where are you guys from? Keep up the good work.
So technically, I think the Emperor has already been corrupted by Chaos. Chaos is basically had a conversation with the Emperor during the Unification Wars, or maybe during the Great Crusade, I can't remember. But either way, like the conversation pushed the Emperor to, in my opinion, in my theory, is to try to push the weave of fate towards him becoming a Chaos God of, not order, but like a Chaos God of light kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. Any way you look at it, the Emperor isn't as pure and loving and like just a great guy, because he kept a lot of secrets. He really just lied to the Imperium in the beginning when it was like, oh, there's no such thing as chaos, there's no such thing as demons and angels and gods, like it's all just science and logic, and clearly that wasn't the truth.
Right.
So it's like, do these things kind of make it seem that he is corrupted, or at least has some type of warp chaos influence in him?
Yeah, and then you also have to think about like what is corruption, because like you can say that certain factions within the Inquisition are corrupted because they use warp powers to basically destroy the warp, but are they because they're destroying the warp? So
yeah,
it's like fighting fire with fire. Yeah, it's weird.
Right. In my mind, there's no good, there's no evil, there's no light, there's no dark. There's just 50 shades of gray knights.
Yes. That's why Khaldor Drago is still in the warp, beating people up.
But he also comes out of the warp to beat people up.
Right.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Lauren Tyus. How does teleportation work in 40K? I'm not too sure if like, so if a what are they called? Damn, it's been so long since I've played, or since anybody has played Terminators, but like, so if a
teleport strike?
Yeah. So if you're going to do teleport strike, I think your atoms get like recorded and then rearranged, or like pushed through the warp into wherever it is that like you're teleporting. So you're using like almost like a small, tiny warp jump.
Right.
It is the same matter that you start with that you end with. So it's not one of those situations where like the Grey Knight Terminator is destroyed and a new identical Terminator is created. Like, no, it's like it gets broken up into atoms, sent through the warp, and then in a baby warp jump.
Right. Depending on the type of technology used, you could do teleport mishaps, and you could have like a Terminator arrive within the inside of a rock, killing him instantaneously.
Right.
But depending on the technology, there's less chances of it happening and whatnot.
Yeah. But ultimately, it is like the demoleculization of a person sent through the warp and then remoleculed like thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that also depends from like race to race. Like clearly the Necrons have some mind-boggling physics that could make it like unstoppable, really.
Yeah, where they don't use the warp at all. Orcs also use the same kind of thing of like demolecularization and then creation on the other side, which is what you saw in the War of the Beast. Next question.
This one's by @DudeLaModesty. Do you think that Games Workshop will one day end the story of 40K?
Yeah, eventually they're going to do 50K, and I think like the end times is going to come about.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see 40K just ending and that's it.
Right.
Because like we've seen this time and time again with any story that's really popular. There's some way to always milk it. There's going to be spin-offs and like past events, and they'll go into different timelines and stuff like that just to keep the money rolling.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely don't see 40K ending anytime soon or ever.
Next question comes from Atticus X. Do you guys play Total War Warhammer? Do you guys like fantasy Warhammer? I never played Total War.
No,
it's an old game.
Yeah, it's similar to like Dawn of War, but with fantasy and stuff like that.
The thing I like about it is that it seems like it's very what's the word? Because like with Dawn of War, you can send multiple waves, whereas with Total War, it's just like one wave, and depending on how you structure your cavalry, your men, or whatever, like the battle can last a certain amount of time. I think I like that. But no, I've never played it.
Yeah,
I've seen walkthroughs.
Right, I've seen the cinematics look pretty cool.
Yeah. Next one.
This one is by Gabriel Barnard. What chaos god does Abaddon worship? If none, what's going to happen when he dies?
So he's Chaos Undivided. So all of them, but none of them.
Exactly. He's kind of have the same mindset as Horus, where it's like he wants to do this by his own hand to kind of prove to the gods that he doesn't need their power, their servitude. But at the same time, he kind of is using them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of using him too. So think of that how you will. What happens when he dies? Well, since he's not pledging his soul, his allegiance to any chaos god, normally that chaos god would take the soul and claim it for themselves. But I feel like they'll probably just fight for it.
Yeah, and in the process, I think he just gets destroyed. I think that's the case with most Chaos Undivided. There's one chaos god that wants to consume the soul and will do so before the others can, but completely obliterating it. Kind of like Horus.
Right, like if I can't have this toy, nobody can.
Right, yeah. We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, but Horus, the Emperor, was the one that was like, no one's having this toy.
Right. And then he still got a clone.
Yeah, there's clones of Horus, yeah, but it's not the Horus.
Yeah. Next question comes from Kevin Newby. Is the Scutari really inspired by the Roman Empire? Like the Scutari legions, yes. Because of like the names of all of their like, what are they called?
Like legions?
It's not a legion. I forget what it's called. Cohort, maybe? I can't remember. But yeah, it's loosely tied to the Roman Empire, but then at the same time, it's its own thing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question.
William Rouston. Has there ever been attempts to use the warp to go back in time and stop and or change an event? Like, maybe the Horus Heresy?
Yeah. So there's an entire inquisitorial minoris dedicated to it. So it's an ordo that's like pretty small called the...
Ordo Cronus?
Yes, Ordo Cronus. Trying to figure out like how to use or manipulate time travel to change events. They were very unsuccessful and they disappeared.
Yeah, anytime there's like time travel or anything with that in 40K, it always seems to never change the event.
Right.
Or maybe that time travel was always fated to happen in a way so that nothing changed and it was always this timeline.
So it's like the Harry Potter thing. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's a loop where Harry always did this thing to help himself from the past in the future, and it's just like yeah, it's set in stone. What you said.
Yeah. And I think that actually is what happened when Horus was stopped on his flagship right before he fought the Emperor.
Yeah. Nothing could be changed. Next question.
This one's by Jason9948. Is it possible to bring back a dead Primarch as long as you have the complete genetic code and the soul?
No. And an excellent example of that is the Loyalist Fulgrim. He's around, but he's not really like Fulgrim.
Yeah, they tried making him to be to that level. Even so here's the thing: whenever there's a clone of a Primarch, they're never as strong as the Primarch.
Right.
So there's been cloned Fulgrim, cloned Ferris, cloned Horus, all failures.
Right. It's kind of like you will never be as amazing as your father, Joe. The Vermint Sheriff will always be better.
Always.
Always.
Yeah. He's probably not watching this unless he accidentally clicked on our videos.
And waited for 11 minutes.
Yeah. What a friend.
And those are the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll talk tomorrow.
As always, it's the Sound Alchemist here with
Gersh 1.
and we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first.